it'll never be the same because our brother's not here. DMX, you know, rest in peace.
God.
You know, we formed like a brotherhood. I didn't have to see him. I didn't have to call him. He didn't have to call me. When we saw each other though, it was that.
Right there.
It was that. It was beyond like.
Okay, I see what's really good. You're trying to eliminate the competition. You know, because at first you retire, you know, then get me off the label. Now you're back rapping again. Okay.
But they are, you know.
All right, so NA's finally speaking up and what he's spilling, straight up shocking. People in the industry been whispering about this for years, but now NA's saying it out loud. Jay-Z and Beyoncé ain't just out here competing. They're dominating the game like it's a battlefield, and when they feel even the tiniest threat, they don't back off. They push people out the way without hesitation. Even legends like DMX weren't safe. Sure, folks knew DMX and Jay had beef, but behind closed doors, it was way deeper than anybody realized. DMX once shared that Jay flat out blocked the release of his 6th album. Why? So Jay wouldn't have to go head to head with him on the charts. That move was ice cold. Jay knew DMX was still a powerhouse, one of the last few who could still outsell him, and instead of risking that loss, he hit the brakes on the whole project. That wasn't just about delaying a drop. Jay chopped DMX's momentum off real quick. But here's where it gets even crazier. NA says Jay pulled that same shady move on him in 2018. Back then, NA had teamed up with Kanye West to drop his comeback album, Nasir. Everything was lined up, the fans were hyped, the rollout was clean, the buzz was real, and boom, the very next day after Nasir dropped, Jay-Z and Beyoncé dropped a whole surprise joint album, Everything Is Love, out of nowhere. And they didn't just release music. They dropped a full music video too, shot in Paris, looking like it had been ready for weeks. NA ain't buying the coincidence. He's calling it what it is, straight up sabotage. He's done staying quiet. Like, come on. You really expect people to believe they just accidentally dropped a whole polished visual album the day after one of their biggest rivals tried to make a comeback? That ain't random, that's calculated. And NA wasn't fooled, not even for a second. He's seen this playbook before. Jay's been using the same slick tricks for years, and now NA's finally calling him out. What makes it worse? NA wasn't even trying to stir up drama. He'd moved on from all that back and forth, but the Carters, not so much. Whether it was jealousy, fear of competition, or just some ultra petty strategy, NA's pulling back the curtain on how Jay's really been moving in the shadows, shutting down anybody he sees as a threat, all while Beyoncé holds down the squeaky clean image with that army of loyal fans behind her. And it doesn't stop there. DMX's name has been coming up more and more, especially now that folks are looking back at how he was one of the only artists who had the guts to call Jay out directly. Most stayed silent, scared to speak on anything shady involving Jay or Bey, but not DMX. He never held his tongue. And here's the wildest part. After DMX passed in April 2021, Jay-Z went on LeBron's show and tried to flip the whole story. He claimed DMX was just super competitive and that there was nothing but love between them. Really? NA ain't buying that version of the story, and neither are a lot of fans. Let's not get it twisted. DMX was the heartbeat of Def Jam. From 98 to 03, he dropped 5 back-to-back #1 albums. That's right, 5. He carried that label on his back, but the moment Jay-Z stepped into that executive chair, everything started going left. DMX said it loud once Jay took control. The rollout for his 6th album, Year of the Dog, again, started hitting delay after delay. Out of nowhere, things started falling apart, and all roads led straight to Jay. Why? Because Jay had just decided to pop out of retirement and didn't want anyone, especially not DMX, stealing his shine. He wanted the spotlight all to himself, no distractions, no heat from the competition. And once that became clear, DMX saw what was really going down. Jay wasn't playing fair. He was guarding his image like it was gold, even if that meant pushing other giants out the way. That moment, that was it for DMX. He knew he had to walk away from Def Jam, but this wasn't just about personal beef. It showed something bigger. DMX wasn't alone. This was part of a pattern. A whole string of moves showing just how far Jay-Z would go when he felt even a little bit threatened. Behind that cool, polished image was a man pulling strings in the background, making sure nobody ever got too close to his throne. And guess what? DMX wasn't the last one to get blocked. Look at Beanie Siegel. He came forward recently and dropped a bomb. He said Jay would purposely time his album drops to hit right when Beanie had something dropping, like clockwork. Every time Beanie tried to shine, Jay popped up and dropped something of his own to bury the momentum. And we're talking about his own teammate. That wasn't no accident. That was cold, calculated strategy. Jay didn't want anybody, even folks on his own squad, pulling too much attention. Now flip over to Cam'ron. Who could forget that wild moment on 106 in Park? Cam had the floor, ready to promote, camera crew locked in, and bam, out of nowhere, Jay-Z pops up, uninvited, and hijacks the whole scene. Cam couldn't even get a full interview off. Jay just snatched the spotlight mid-show like it was nothing. That moment wasn't random, it was a power move. Jay didn't like when someone else started catching heat, so instead of stepping in the ring and battling it out like a real MC, he played the background, moving the chess pieces from the shadows. All the while, Jay kept that smooth image, acting like he was too cool to even be bothered. But now, we know better. And nobody knows those tricks better than NA. Jay's been pulling the same shady plays on him for over 20 years. Every time NA lined up a big drop, Jay would swoop in with a surprise release of his own. It's like clockwork. Back in December 2001, NA dropped Stillmatic, a huge moment. What happens? Jay suddenly releases his MTV Unplugged performance the very next week. Then in 2004, NA drops Street's Disciple. Boom, Jay teams up with Linkin Park and drops Collision Course right on cue. And in 2007, it happened again. NA released his greatest hits album, and just days later, Jay put out American Gangster. Coincidence? Please. It's clear, Jay's been playing the long game, controlling the board, timing his moves, and making sure no one else ever stands too tall next to him. That's when things took a serious turn. Nas didn't just call out Jay-Z's shady business moves, he dug deeper. He went straight for the one subject most people in the game stayed silent about, R. Kelly. Nas straight up accused Jay of turning a blind eye. All those disturbing rumors and allegations around R. Kelly were already out there. And Jay, he kept quiet, didn't say a word. Why? According to Nas, it wasn't ignorance. It was all about chasing the bag. Their joint project, the best of both worlds, was making money. And Nas says Jay put the profit over doing what was right. But here's where it gets even darker. Nas hinted that Jay's silence might not have just been about protecting the money. He suggested that maybe, just maybe, Jay had his own secrets. That maybe he wasn't just ignoring red flags. Maybe he didn't want the spotlight turning in his direction. So what did Jay-Z do when the pressure started rising? He didn't respond head on. Nah, he played it slick, quiet, strategic. He backed the surviving R. Kelly documentary, not loudly, but behind the scenes. The same doc that helped bring down R. Kelly, Jay was quietly linked to it. That move let him flip the narrative. He went from being silent on serious stuff to showing up like the clean-cut hero. Family man Jay, husband to Beyoncé, father of 3, black excellence in a suit. But Nas, he wasn't buying it, and now he's finally saying it out loud. And it's not just Nas speaking anymore. 50 Cent jumped into the convo and added some heat. He said what a lot of folks been whispering for years, that Jay hides behind Beyoncé's public image. According to 50, their whole marriage, it ain't about love. It's a business deal, a power move. 2 brands linking up for the empire, not some fairy tale romance. But 50 didn't stop there. He dropped another bomb in one of his interviews that had fans talking crazy. He claimed a bunch of Jay-Z's Grammy wins wouldn't have even happened if he wasn't tied to Beyoncé. That's a bold statement, and it's got people wondering just how deep the favoritism in the industry really runs. And guess who was one of the first to see through all these chess moves? DMX. He clocked it early. Just like Nas, DMX was never scared to speak up. He saw how Jay used his position at Def Jam, not to lift up the next generation, but to block anyone he saw as competition. Instead of building with the crew, Jay made sure nobody came too close to the top. And when DMX saw that, he spoke on it, loud and clear. Both Nas and DMX were cut from the same cloth. Real ones who refused to play the industry game. They weren't about to bow down to power plays or kiss up just because someone had status or connections. That respect between them, it went beyond music. It was a code, a mindset. They stood tall no matter who was calling the shots, and that's why their bond was real. While most folks stayed quiet or played it safe, Nas and DMX ripped the curtain down. They didn't just throw shade, they exposed what was really going on behind the scenes. From Jay-Z sabotaging album rollouts, to dropping surprise projects right on top of other artists, to hiding behind Beyoncé's spotless image like a shield, none of it was random. Every move was calculated, quiet, controlled, designed to keep Jay sitting at the top while everybody else got sidelined. These weren't petty industry moves, they were power plays. And Jay, he played them smooth, but Nas and X weren't having it. They saw through the act and made sure the truth didn't stay buried. Now here's the real question. How much do fans really know? How many people got caught up in the glitz, the red carpets, the power couple vibes, the billionaire headlines, all while the real story was playing out in the shadows? So what do you think? Is Jay-Z just a genius playing the game better than anyone else? Or did Nas and DMX have every right to call him out for crossing lines nobody talks about? Is this just how the music industry runs? Cutthroat, calculated, no room for weakness? Or are we looking at something way deeper than just business? And let's talk about Beyoncé. How much has her image protected Jay's brand? Has she been part of the strategy all along? Or is she just caught in the middle of moves being made behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear it all. Was Nas and DMX keeping it real or just stirring the pot? Let's break it all down. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Because trust me, the next chapter in this story, it's about to get even wilder.